Welcome, everyone, to episode 33 of the Golden Squeeze podcast. We got two PLEs this weekend. That means that we have a lot to talk about, and we are going to start off with the event known as Money in the Bank, which had a lot of low points and some high points. All in all, there was a lot of good stuff, but man, was there a lot of bad. And we're going to start with some of the bad here with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And the match itself wasn't terrible, but the result and what they did with that result in the remainder of the show was an unmitigated disaster, if you ask me.
That bad.
But
The match was good.
Start with
the match was good.
Let's start with just talking about the match.
It was very good. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah.
The
match was good.
That spot where McIntyre threw that ladder was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And my issues with this show had nothing to do with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. It's just the booking decisions. Who won? I had a problem with that. And then the cash in, I had a problem with that. McIntyre was too predictable after he made it into the match. And
yes,
I know that you had picked Carmelo Hayes, but only because I made you stick with Carmelo Hayes.
Once I knew,
because you wanted to switch to McIntyre.
Yeah, because it's furthering that hottest storyline, which now there's another wrinkle in it, but we'll get to all that later. So it's all roads are leading back to Seth versus Punk. It's just a matter of how they get there and whether or not it's going to be for the title or not for the title. But at this point, or whether or not it's going to main event or not. But I think all roads are leading to Punk, Rollins, still with a major match, whether it be SummerSlam, whether it be the newly announced Bad Blood event in Atlanta, which that would be fitting as well. But we can get to all that. Man, this is a good match. Everybody worked their roles to perfection here. I thought it was very good. I know you don't really think they're gonna elevate Carmelo Hayes that high, but my God, that guy's an athlete.
He is an athlete. I mean, I don't think he's not talented. I just don't think he fits the mold.
I know that. I know you. I know what you're saying, but
he's U.S. champion material. That's what he is. I think that's his ceiling. I think U.S. championship is his ceiling. Maybe if they get desperate, IC. But
I don't agree.
You may not agree. That's perfect.
Okay, and well, I would agree with you if Vince McMahon's regime would have drafted him as high, would have had him be drafted as high as they did. That was intentional. And I just think, man, and I thought that until McIntyre was announced to be in it, I thought that event was tailor-made for, because you love to hate him. He's so arrogant, so cocky, but he's good. And I thought that would have been great. I thought for sure, I was like, I thought it was a no-brainer. He was going to win just because of the heelish nature, or because of what type of heel he is. I thought it was tailor-made for a heel like him, just the same way I thought it was about Tiffany Stratton. But as soon as McIntyre came in and guaranteed to win and guaranteed to cash in, I was like, well, we all know where this is going. And it did.
I was waiting for AJ Lee to come out, and I just never heard her music hit, and she never interfered and did not prevent Drew McIntyre from cashing in. So has Punk been cleared? No.
And I have already seen Raw, and unless he's been cleared and they're just not saying it, they're still going as if he is not yet cleared.
Yeah. But he can clearly take a bump. or at the very least get physical.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his limitations are right now. Do you think that Drew McIntyre winning was always the plan? And if not, when do you think they said we're going to have Drew win?
I don't know. Because I don't know what, if anything, what, if any, plans were altered. I don't know if maybe original. No, I don't see Punk, because Money in the Bank is an event that'll always be synonymous with CM Punk because he won the briefcase, I think, back to back. And then also one of the greatest matches ever with him and John Cena. So I mean, I'm saying that to say maybe I was thinking maybe at some point a plan was to have that one-on-one if he was cleared at Money in the Bank. But I don't know if with the two matches, if that would have been able to fit in there. Because that's got to, man. Even at SummerSlam, man, I just don't see with how they've been building that. That's got a main event. It has to. You would think.
But if it main events, that means that we don't get Roman.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the only thing you got to think about is that something with the blood. I think Roman's going to come back. If he doesn't come back before SummerSlam, I think he's coming back at SummerSlam. So I don't think they're going to wait until after SummerSlam for him to come back.
I'm still going with Solo is beating Cody for the title.
That may or may not be the case, but if that happens, that's going to main event at SummerSlam, and then Roman comes out, and that's not going on second to last.
No, and no, that's a good point. I was actually shocked that main evented and he did not come back.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second, but let's move on to the next match, which was Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, and again, going back to the first match, my only issue was with who won. Everything else was fine. I take exception to a lot of what happened inside this match because I can't stand the way they booked Sami Zayn up to this point. What was it? One haluva kick? One? In this day and age of WWE where everyone kicks out of everything, you can't have Braun Breaker kick out of one? Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. They book him up to be this monster, and he loses clean. I don't understand how they could have booked him the way they booked him, and they said to themselves, it's a good idea to let us have Braun Breaker on his first PLE, in singles competition, lose clean. I don't know how they thought that was a good idea.
Because of where it was.
And I'll go ahead. I don't care where it was.
I'm just saying.
They never let Drew McIntyre win at home. Like, why does Sammy have to win at home every single time he goes there?
Because he's Sammy, damn it.
I'm going to say this now. My issues with this entire pay-per-view, none of it had to do with the matches of the in-ring content.
It's a good match.
Everything was booking.
Yeah.
That my issue was booking across the board from the beginning of the night till the end of the night, with the exception of the women's match. I don't think there was a decent booking decision other than that. And this was
I disagree with that.
What else?
I love that the Bloodline won.
I guess my issue with that wasn't booking. My issue with that is they didn't bring Roman back, which I consider to be a booking decision.
Yeah,
but,
okay, no, that's fair because I agree, especially putting that as the main event. I agree.
There's no reason why that should have been the main event with the way it was booked.
Agreed.
But we'll get to that in a second. I can't stand Sami Zayn. I just can't.
No.
I like Sami, this is not his fault. This is Triple H's fault. I think he is booked in a way that a person of his look should not ever be booked. And it's just insane that a man with the muscle tone of ground beef can just beat the Gunthers and the Braun Breakers of the world, who are one is a wrestling marvel, the other is an athletic marvel, and Sammy beats them clean. I don't understand it. It make sense to me, because how does Braun lose? How does Braun lose like this? I don't have a problem with him losing. I just have a problem losing like this.
Yeah, and I mean, because him maybe getting a little just nonchalant. It it wasn't it wasn't amplified as much as it was with Gunther. And that was the whole story they were writing with him was, hey, he just got cocky, could have pinned him whenever he wanted to and just kept going for move after move and this and that. And, I guess to a degree you could kind of say that towards the end here when, Sammy caught him and then hit him with the exploder and then immediately hit him with the I get what you're saying about the everyone kicking out of moves and this and that, but we gripe so much about moves getting kicked out, and we will get to that with NXT because something happened that I know what they were going for, and I know the point they were trying to prove, but inexcusable to me, and which was probably my one gripe about that show. And with this, I was surprised, but I was like, hey, they protected a finisher. Kudos to them.
But they protected that finisher, the haluva kick. That's what they choose to protect. Listen, I understand what you're saying.
You know how I feel about people kicking out of kicks to the head.
I do, but you can't just arbitrarily one day say, okay, now we're going to protect it. Like, I don't have a problem.
I see that point.
I don't have a problem with them protecting a finisher. But if you're not going to do it any other time, why are you starting with Braun Breaker?
They've decided all of a sudden they're going to change the way they're presenting Sami Zayn. It did it last week with, hey, I'm here, you want a match, you got it, but leading into this. And then, did you see the post-match press conference, what Triple H said?
No.
Triple H said, Sami Zayn is not the underdog anymore. So they're trying to change that, and that, that I don't know. I guess they're trying to present him differently, and I don't know if that was because of they realized the error of their ways of him hulking up at WrestleMania. Or
they essentially let him hulk up here. I mean,
no, it was stop.
It wasn't as bad.
Okay, I was gonna say no.
It was muted compared to what happened at because WrestleMania it was actually a hulk up, but this is like a figurative hulk up. But it's
I don't know, man. I see what you're saying. I was genuinely surprised at how that happened, but this is far from over.
I think it might be over. I think that they're going to go the storyline of Adam Pearce saying,
no,
Braun.
They're not.
Well, okay. I didn't. Right. I haven't seen
I've seen Raw. I can assure you this is not over.
Okay. That's good then, because what I thought they were going to do was he had been griping about not getting put in these positions, and I thought that Adam Pearce was going to say, I put you in the position you failed, so you need to work your way back up, and then he was going to have to start from the bottom. That was my concern. So if that's not what happened, no. I'm happy. I am happy. But
did not.
Another thing I want to talk about is Braun Breaker debuted some awful entrance music. Just, in my opinion, AJ Styles level entrance music.
Wait, you're talking the new AJ Styles theme, right?
Yes, I'm talking.
Okay, just making sure.
His music, I actually didn't mind his old music. It wasn't great, but like it got like the crowd, barking or whatever they used to do. They need to get rid of Def Rebel or whatever it is. Is that the name of it? Def Rebel.
Dude, it's like
I need Jim Johnson back.
I know
they can make bangers like Roman Reigns' theme, but Jim Johnson didn't have duds. He didn't have duds. He might not have had all the best music, but he didn't have music that was absolutely like fingers on chalkboard. And Def Rebel has those. They are prone to stinkers.
Yeah,
and I think they have one with Braun Breakers. But if I've learned nothing, they don't care. They're not going to change it. It'll be his music for now.
I agree. There's a lot of there's a lot that aren't very good, but then there's some that definitely I think work like great. And then, but I agree. There's a lot of there's a lot that I there's a lot more that I don't care for more so than when Jim Johnson. It is Jim Johnson, right? Jim Johnson was doing it, but like, dude, like some of that stuff in NXT is bad, but then you have like some of it that I think is really good too, like in
Yeah, I
NXT.
like Jade Cargill, her theme. Uh, I mean, her whole entrance. I like.
I like Jey Uso's.
Yeah, he's
Um,
got a good one.
um, and granted, I don't know, and I'm just saying this because it just sounds so different. Did he do did he do Dragonoffs? Because that's a cool theme. I like Dragonoffs.
I would have to assume he did, or they did,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But let's move on from that. Let's go on to a genuine shocker to me. John Cena making an appearance. I did not expect to see Jonathan Cena, and guess what? I didn't see him. He came out and he announced his retirement. Well, he announced that he is going to retire. People keep saying that he announced his retirement. He didn't announce his retirement. He announced that he is going to retire. He's not retired yet. He's going to wrestle, hopefully, a decent schedule between now and WrestleMania, whatever number we're on.
No. See, and you text me something, and I forgot to tell you that they clarified that's just his last WrestleMania. He is wrestling through.
No, I know,
Oh,
but
okay, okay.
I'm trying to see whether or not he's going to be like on SmackDowns or Raws. They said he was going to be at Royal Rumble.
Oh no,
He said he was.
I think I heard like 30 to 40 appearances.
I thought I heard something that, but I also thought I may have dreamed that.
No.
So 30 or
That's
40.
what they said,
Oh,
and I
okay.
can already think of a few things they have to do. They have to run back him and Punk. I think his first match should be against what?
Whatever you're about to say is wrong, and I'll tell you who it's supposed to be, but you go
I was
first.
gonna say AJ.
Nope, R-Truth. You got to give him an R-Truth match before that's over. Do you know how much the crowd, if they book it properly, do you know how fun that match could be? Now, one would argue I don't want to waste a John Cena match on a fun match with R-Truth, but man, could that be
They
fun.
got to at least do a tag match again.
Something.
But they already did that, I
Something.
guess. When they did the 15 knuckle shuffle.
What if it was him at WrestleMania, career versus
Yeah.
career match, and then he beats John Cena
Yeah,
and
dude,
puts over the young R-Truth?
there's a few I think you gotta do.
AJ Styles,
AJ, Punk, Rock,
give him one. Cody.
go.
I don't think they'll do Cody. Maybe.
Dude, and
Could be his last match.
okay, and normally I'm not one to just put the belt on somebody to get a record or for accolades or whatever, but
Do it, and then have him lose it at WrestleMania against Cody.
no. I would be okay, and I'm sure he would too. I'm okay with Cena beating Gunther for the title at Mania. I'm okay with that.
Okay, so you wanted to go out putting over Gunther for his last match. I'm fine with
You
that.
mean his last Mania?
Well, Mania is going to be his last match.
No. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Oh.
No, he just said WrestleMania. It's his last Mania, but he is wrestling through 2025.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. All right. No, I did not catch on to that.
Okay,
then.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, with that said, hey, Gunther's going to win. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Gunther's winning at SummerSlam. He's winning.
Yeah,
He's
I think
winning
so,
the
too.
title, and then, and Cena has already talked about, I think, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and Mania. But I thought it was interesting. He specifically said Elimination Chamber. I thought that was an interesting one to mention. I think he's winning
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber and going to WrestleMania to face Gunther.
Okay. Okay, I like that. I like that. We'll see where it goes,
Yeah.
and I want to see when it starts.
Yeah.
When does it start? When does he start consistently having matches?
Because and I'm curious as to who the last match is going to be against. Because if he,
Kurt Angle makes his return.
huh?
They end it. They end it where it starts. Kurt Angle's his last match. Ruthless aggression.
I'm just wondering who he puts over and puts the belt on. That's what I want to know. If I think they give him the record, man. I think he'd have the blessing of Flair.
I'm trying to think.
I think.
Does he need one to tie Flair or one to pass Flair?
No, he's tied.
He's tied right now.
They're both at 16.
That's 100% sure.
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to think of young talent that in a year would be good to get put over. Man, just let him fight Braun Breaker for his last match.
Could do that.
Let him get some seasoning for a year.
Or you know what, man? I would be perfectly okay too with them putting the belt back on Orton for that. That would be a perfectly acceptable last match for him. That's an old
but
rivalry.
Orton's at 15. So then you got the conundrum where you put Randy with Ric Flair, and then you got to get Randy at 17.
Yeah,
maybe.
But
that could create a problem down the road. But I'd be okay with it. That's their problem, not mine.
Yeah. I mean, because it, I don't know. It lot of good options. But But I was definitely surprised when
pleasantly surprised
when he came out and did that. But yeah, there's a few. I think he's got to go against Punk again. He's got to go against AJ again. I'd be fine with him going against Rock again.
I'd love for him to come out and start his open challenges again.
Yep,
that would be fun. Yep. Because man, his first match against Kevin Owens and his first match against Sami Zayn, where he tore his shoulder, doing his thing where he puts his arm up, and he fought his whole first match against John Cena with a torn labrum.
Oh yeah,
those were good matches. That was back when Kevin Owens was doing crazy stuff. Because when Kevin Owens first came out, his moveset seemed to be unlimited. He was something special. He still is. Oh, yeah. But I would love to see him have an open challenge again. I think that could be really, really fun if they do it right.
Yeah, Orton, I think it's definitely going to be one of those last ones. It has to be. They absolutely have to go back to that. And I think Cody, that's got to happen. And I feel like there's somebody else.
Roman, give him Roman again.
That was an awesome match. That was.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, it's a money match regardless. And
Brock Lesnar,
dude. Oh yeah, definitely Brock. I don't know.
The first ever IP match.
I don't know. Do you think Gunther's too liked of a heel for them to have him?
Apparently not. Apparently everybody hates him and doesn't want to watch him wrestle according to social media. I make one post and there wasn't a single person who had a positive thing to say about
Well,
Gunther.
you listen to the crowd reactions and they say otherwise. They like watching him.
I hear you, but I'm just saying from the sample size, our Instagram's a little bit bigger than our YouTube, and there's people on Instagram. We actually have a decent amount of followers over there, and they were coming in herds to Brock Lesnar on my ideas. You know what I mean?
That's twice in about a minute. That's all.
All right, let's move on from this because we're going off on a tangent for a segment that didn't even involve a match and a guy who wasn't even supposed to be on the show. So next is something that the whole internet is talking about: Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins. And Damian Priest, God bless his soul, he's a botch machine. And
okay, I'm not ready to say that about this because we don't
I have to.
what happened. You could visibly see him saying something to Rollins during that pin.
Why did Triple H completely blame him?
Seth blamed the ref on Raw.
Triple H blamed him without having time to come up with a canned response.
That is true.
I don't care what Rollins said on Raw 3 days later. Triple H could have said it was a production issue, but he did not maintain kayfabe, and he said that, look, he was supposed to kick out. And that, I believe that, because there's no reason to say that if that's not true. Why are you throwing Damian Priest under the bus if that's not true? Why not throw a nameless production crew member under the bus?
Yeah.
I know the internet kept saying, oh, his music was supposed to hit. Maybe, but it's not like his music hit right after that.
Yeah.
It was like 5, 6, 7 seconds later. It wasn't like 1, 2, 3, and then no, they got up, circled around, gesticulating.
And that's okay. That makes more sense because I think the sequence went that, and then didn't he hit the stomp and then the music hit?
Yes, it was not boom, boom. Like if it was boom, boom, I'd buy production. But production's not going to mess up by that many seconds. That's insane.
And you know what sucks about it? And I know we're going to get to the part that you hated afterwards, but it was a good match.
It was a very good match. But when you're the top guy, you can't have mistakes like that. And that's too. And again, I don't want to blame him for the Glasgow incident where his leg got stuck in the ropes. But never seen that happen to Roman. Never seen that happen to Seth. I've never seen that happen to these top guys, and they might mess up. But Damian's mess ups are not small mess ups. They are huge mess ups. They are gigantic mess ups that change the landscape of the entire match. He was stuck in ropes for like 10 seconds.
Okay, well.
No, not 10 seconds. Like 2 minutes.
Okay, well.
He was stuck in the ropes.
Hey, but let's be fair. If you're talking about the caliber of people not making those mistakes, would you have thought Randy Orton wouldn't get his shoulder down at King of the Ring, a veteran like that? It can happen to anybody.
It can, but Randy has 20 years of goodwill. You are correct. Damian doesn't have that kind of goodwill.
And again, and I know you could say, well, Gunther didn't do whatever because if memory is serving me correctly, I think Randy Orton has had documented issues, shoulder issues and stuff like that in the past. So, I was just surprised by that whole thing. Still am. And it's crazy, man. 2 major matches over just the past few months have been marred by pinning.
By Damian Priest.
Pinning type. I wasn't talking about that, but.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
this one was far worse than the Randy Orton one.
Yes. Yes.
This is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
God.
I can't think of anything that was that bad of a mess up.
Yeah, that was. Oh man, and dude, and think about it. had the ref just kept going, like I think they tell them to in certain instances.
Oh, I blame the ref
I
too,
don't.
because
No, because dude, there's plenty
you
of time.
have to,
Well, there's
because
plenty of times on these false finishes you see him do that whole thing, and so
there's no reason for him not to count to 3.
no,
With the way it shook up, you could easily go on the fly and just have Punk come down and cash in and just have him beat,
you mean
um
McIntyre?
yeah, whatever. You could definitely have McIntyre come down to the ring and make it work. You could definitely make that work, especially if Punk is interfering. You could easily make that work. You could have easily made it work. It would have taken a lot of, I mean, it would have taken a lot to put that all together, but it would have been better than what we got. It ruins the integrity of the referee by what he did. And I know that it's a WWE ref. They shouldn't have any integrity. But it's not even like it was close to him kicking out. He was
No,
motionless.
no, no, no. But what I'm saying is, you've seen a lot of these. They they know when they're when the false finish is, this and that, and you've seen as many times as I do when they do the 1, 2. A lot of them, they're like already coming over, like they know that that hand is not hitting the mat, and that's what happened here. I don't blame him at all
I
because
do, because like you said, I could have sworn that I've heard that they're told to count to
no,
3.
in I think in specific instances, like um I know when they talk about the streak ending, they told the referee, "Hey, you count unless um, you count if the shoulders are on the mat, no matter what, unless it's the Hell's Gate submission." They basically
Yeah.
they basically said, "You don't screw the fact Undertaker's shoulders are on the mat every time he does that move. You're not to count that." but 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 yeah, but no, that was the thing. They said the referee's instructions were if the shoulders are on the mat, you count until somebody kicks out, unless it's the Hell's Gate submission. So I think
Yeah.
there's instances where they specifically um, do that, but
It definitely marred an otherwise good
oh
match.
yeah, and I
No doubt
hate
about it.
that, man. I dude, it's just man, the guy. Sometimes I say bad things come in 3. Maybe that's the third one, and he'll be fine now because you had the Glasgow incident, you had the plane breaking down and preventing him from performing in Madison Square Garden, and then you have this. So
Yeah.
hopefully, dude, because he seems like a genuinely good dude,
Yeah.
and
Well, he was going to lose his title anyway here soon. And so, I mean, when he loses his title at SummerSlam, it's not because of this. That was going to happen anyway, likely. So I just hope that somewhere down the line he gets an opportunity, because I also like him. It's just, can they trust him? And that now becomes a question. Can they trust him with these incidents? I don't know.
I hope so.
Yeah, but now let's talk about what happened afterwards. One of the worst booking decisions I can think of in a long time. Not to say that I didn't see it coming, but I have a huge issue with him losing the briefcase.
I thought you were about to talk about Tiffany Stratton. I was like, what? I was like,
No,
okay.
no,
I was like,
no.
godly worst booking decision.
That was only a bad booking decision because you guessed it 2 months ago. But um, this was terrible in my opinion. I don't think that they understand how good of a thing it is to have somebody with the briefcase that goes to shows every week teasing it. They don't have that now, and they just I they could have accomplished everything they need to accomplish by having Punk interfere in the ladder match, and for them to take the route of uh, having him interfere his cash in that on the same day he wins it. There are so many other opportunities and so many other good moments that we could have had that we've been robbed of, and
I
it's just not fair,
I
in my opinion.
I agree, but um, now I kind of wish I wouldn't have seen Raw, but they're bringing Rollins back into this. I think that's what, because I thought the same thing. I was like, they didn't need any more of a build of Punk and McIntyre. It's red hot, white hot, whatever the saying is. And it didn't need that. It didn't need that at all. But now you had that stare down with Rollins and Punk at the end because he screwed Rollins. But that opens the show on Monday is Punk Rollins. So
okay.
But again, where they're going with that, I don't know. I've got to guess. I think it's going to be Punk. I think it's going to be Punk McIntyre at SummerSlam. Rollins cost Punk. Punk Rollins won at Bad Blood.
Okay. All right.
But we'll see.
That doesn't change my position on the issue that I want somebody with the briefcase night in and night out.
Man,
but it does
agree.
help take the sting out a little. If the whole purpose of, if you're telling me that they couldn't have Punk interfere in the ladder match because that would not further the storyline between Punk and Rollins, I don't like it, but I can accept it.
Yeah, and I kind of had a feeling it was coming just with the interaction with Rollins and the stare down. I was like, okay, this may be their way. But again, I feel that could have been handled differently, and then putting the briefcase in a guy's hands like a Carmelo Anthony, who I think is perfect.
Carmelo Hayes.
Oh my gosh, it's the second time I've done that. Carmelo Hayes.
I'd love to see Carmelo Anthony in the ring. A 6'8", 260-pounder coming down to the ring. That's scary.
Yes,
a big boy.
But yeah.
Carmelo Anthony versus Obafemi.
But then again, too, dude. I mean, it's like I gripe about it, but we've seen other cash-ins the same night, and then it's the same thing. You don't have the week to week.
Have we seen a failed cash-in in the first night? I'm trying to think.
I don't believe so.
I don't recall a failed cash-in on night one. But I feel differently had he cashed in successfully. I don't know. But I'll never find out. But
right.
Let's move on. Let's move on to a prediction that you got correct. The women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Everyone give a round of applause for Wade, who guessed Tiffany Stratton pretty much back when she was in college. He guessed it a long time ago that Tiffany Stratton was going to win the women's Money in the Bank. And she did exactly that. And for the second time, I think in 3 pay-per-views, the women were the best match of the night. I can't remember what the other one was, but I remember recently there was a pay-per-view where the women were the best match. And this is again where the women are the best match. I don't even think it's that close, if you ask me. I think that they were... I think they did great. I think they sacrificed their bodies. I think that everyone performed, even Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark took a nasty bump, and
she took a few.
Yeah, good on her.
Oh yeah,
because
they had her in that match for a reason. She performed very well in it last year as well.
Yeah, they didn't care about killing her. That's the reason why she was in the match.
She did very well.
Who don't we care about? Oh, Zoe, you can take these. You can take these bumps. What they did do was give her maybe not arguably, the worst face paint I have ever seen on a women's wrestler, on a person. What were those things? What were those? What was on her
Did you
face?
hear what they said? Somebody, I think, on Bleacher Report compared it to Schwarzenegger and Commando.
It was
I was
so
like, I
bad.
don't know about that, but
She, I don't know what she asked for, nor do I know why she thought that it looked good. But man, that was bad. But
I don't think that's the first time she's done that, though.
well, it's the first time I noticed.
Uh,
I try not to look at her in the face so I don't hurt my eyes. But um,
oh my god, we're never going to get anybody on here if you don't stop this.
moving right along,
Mm.
the match itself though was awesome, and uh, Chelsea Green is a star.
Oh,
Uh,
dude,
if,
that
if you
bump.
didn't know beforehand, you need to know now. Uh, she is no stranger to taking bumps like that. She did a lot of work in Lucha Underground, where that's what she does. She takes those kind of bumps and she took it like a champ. She made it look clean.
Oh
It
yeah.
was perfect. She fell at the perfect spot in between those two tables. It wasn't what a lot of times you'll see where like they barely get one of the tables and then like it breaks. No, she went clean through both those tables like a champ, and she fell right down. She didn't brace herself with her arms. She landed right on her back, and she looked dead. And that's exactly what she needed to do. That was a great bump that
Oh
she
yeah.
took.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the message I sent you? Can you make a video of, hey Sanka, you dead man?
Yeah, man. uh, oh man, so good, so good. And the funny thing is, I'm watching it with my kids, and I don't remember who was going up, and they were like, "Oh, she's about to win." I was like, "Son, boys, there's one thing you need to learn about in professional wrestling. If there's a table on the ground, or if there's a ladder that is set up, the match is not about to end. Someone's going through those tables. I've never once seen a match where people just set up tables. Someone's going through it before the match ends. So if you think that person right now is about to win, they are not, because no one's been through that table and there's a ladder that's in between another ladder on the ropes. Someone's going through that ladder. But the one thing I will say is those ladders, they weren't your typical ladders because they weren't breaking today. Those ladders were not breaking,
Oh
and
yeah.
those
Oh,
women, their spines were getting compressed on those ladders, and I think they were expecting them to break, but they need to get their weight up because those ladders were not breaking
no,
today.
not
No,
at all. And,
no.
and you know something else too that I was especially surprised about with the men's match. Um, there was there were no run-ins with people not in the match.
Yeah.
I fully expected Logan Paul to cost LA Knight. Fully expected that, especially since he rolled him up to win on SmackDown to
Yeah.
get into the match. I was like, oh yeah, he's going to cost him. No, and then same to a degree. I thought maybe in the women's match, Naya would maybe show up to help Tiffy.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen either, and
Clean win.
and I'm glad. I'm glad that it went that way, and so um, yeah. Now the match is great, and yeah, there's some very very good spots in there.
Yeah.
One thing I was disappointed with, I I fully expected to see the prettiest moonsault from one of those ladders.
Yeah.
And I thought, I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be, and I thought even if it was something like where she did it from the one onto the one that was in between, like that went from the ladder to the ropes, that like the one that Io and Zoe used for that
Mm-hmm.
move that almost ended disastrously. but
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I was hoping to see that, but oh well. Well, that is my one gripe because I just had it envisioned in my head, but oh well.
Well, if we learned nothing from the last women's ladder match, when Sol Ruka did a Soul Snatcher, but it was from like the second rung. They're a little cautious with doing the
well,
moves like that
well,
for
then
these
again,
women.
too, as I guess, I guess I'm convinced. I forgot what the Soul Snatcher actually is, since she has to get a running start. I don't know if she's like one of those.
She's a cat.
Yeah, I don't think she could scale it that high. But anyways, oh well.
Yeah.
Are we on
But
to the
this was
main
good.
event?
Everyone
Oh
was
yeah,
everyone was
very good.
showcased. Naomi did great. Lyra did great. Stark did great. Io did great. Chelsea Green did great. But one person did greater than everyone else, and that's Tiffany Stratton. Tiffy in the bank.
Oh yeah.
We get Tiffy in the bank now. She's going to do great with that briefcase. I just know it. She's built for it. Kudos to you for predicting it, and I'm glad that you were correct.
I'm just
No, not
wondering
really.
if she cashes in as soon as Nia beats Bailey at SummerSlam.
I think she's going to have it for a while.
You think so? She's gonna turn on Nia.
We need one briefcase for some period of time. I think that with Drew cashing in right away and being unsuccessful, I think that she's the one who carries the heavy lifting with the briefcase for the next 9 months.
We'll
But
see.
we
We
will
shall
see.
see.
And the last booking decision I did not like was with the placement of the finale, the Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. I know it shouldn't be this way because we're just fans. It is what it is. But you sometimes create some expectations in a fan. I could have sworn I read that they had planned to have Damian Priest versus Seth Rollins go on last. And when they don't go on last and they go in the middle of the show, the way me as a fan views that is, oh, they've made a change. So then you have to ask yourself, why did they make that change? And then the logical place that your head is going to go of why they made that change is that Roman Reigns is going to come back.
Yep.
So then when he doesn't, you create disappointment. And I know I am not the only person that thought when that match was coming on last that Roman was going to come back. I told you that Roman was coming back before I even knew it was coming on last. And you said no, because it's not going to be on last. But I know for a fact, I don't know for a fact, but I know that you thought that Roman was coming out when they moved it to last.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Because there's no reason to not think that. Because there's no reason for this match to be last. There's absolutely no reason for this match to be last. There's no title involved. So why is this match the last match? It's not the match that's the namesake of the pay-per-view.
Yep.
And it's not a title match.
Yep.
It is a 3-on-3 match with 0 stakes.
Yep.
So why are you going on last?
Yep.
Is it because of the people involved? There's only 1 star in this match. Well, that's not true. I don't want to belittle Randy at this point in his career. But it's Cody. He's the biggest draw. If you want to argue Randy, we can do that. But it's not Kevin Owens. It's not Solo Sikoa. It's not Tama Tonga. It's not Tonga Loa. It's not Jacob Fatu. It's Cody and then everybody else. Cody's not that over that he gets to go on last for a match like this. Yes, he's over, but there are very few people in the history of wrestling who are over enough where this match should have gone on last without Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is a person who could have made this match go last, and he didn't show up. I will also take this time to say that Tonga Loa or Tama Tonga is not very good. I'm gonna say that as well. There's nothing special about him, and he looks tiny when he's out there wrestling. In my opinion, he looked like half the size of even Kevin Owens. He looked like a little pit bull going at them in wrestling. His skill set doesn't seem to be anything that's all that great. So while I say that about him, I think that Jake
well within the group.
He might. That's yeah. It's a stupid group that shouldn't exist. So I agree. He fits well. Jacob Fatu is a star. There's a big difference. His presence out there and just the way that he moves and the way that he looks and the way that he acts, he's the one that should be getting all the accolades. And I've only seen him fight for 5 minutes in total, however long he was actually fighting in that match. I saw all I needed to see. I didn't need to see him wrestle. I can just look at him and know that he's the person. There are people that you can look at and know he's the person. Roman Reigns, it took a while to get there, but you know, he has that aura to him. But he doesn't have even him. He looks great, but there's something about Jacob Fatu that just looks different. He just moves different. It's like I don't know. It's like prime like a prime Kevin Durant. He just moves different than everyone else. He just looks the role. He looks the part. There's everything about him screams main event professional wrestler.
Agreed. He's good, man. He's good. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that move he hit off the top at the end on Cody to break up the third. Or was that? Yeah. I think it was to break up the third Crossroads attempt where he hit him. That was good though. Right decision, 100%. I think. And that was another thing too that got me about this. If you don't have Roman come out, it's kind of predictable. You're not going to do what you did to Paul Heyman and make a big deal about him getting the tribal chief. Tribal chief necklace. I apologize. I don't recall what the name of it is. The necklace. You don't do that just to have him lose. So you knew they were going to win, and which makes it even stranger that this went on. There was zero question about what was going to happen, in my opinion.
Well, the only question that arose is, does Roman Reigns show up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about,
but
from a who's going to win standpoint, though.
It's just so silly. It's just bad booking, just terrible booking, and again, and like I said before, my issues with this pay per view had nothing to do with the in ring product for the most part, other than the botch and the Seth Rollins Damian Priest match. The in ring product was great here. I thought that they did a good job. There's one thing that WWE can do. It's can book a multi man tag match. I mean, they know how to do that. They have a very good formula. So I had no issues there. My issue was I'm sitting there like an idiot, like telling my kids Roman's coming out, and then Dad just looks like a moron because he doesn't come out. And I even waited, like the match was over and they were like walking up the ramp and I'm like, oh, here it comes.
Oh, but they make you do that because of what they do when they have the logo pop up on the screen, but then they still had Punk come out. It's
exactly, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh, this is Punk over again. Here comes Roman. His music's about to hit, and then it never hit.
Yeah.
Never hit.
Yeah.
Overall, the pay-per-view, can I say the good outweighed the bad? Probably, but people are going to be talking a lot more about the botches in a month than they are about any of these matches. So, women stole the show. They did a great job.
Maybe not more than that match, but
yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, women stole the show. Yeah, they might still be talking about Chelsea Green's lifeless body under those tables, but great. It was a good pay-per-view. I'm angry for the right reasons, but not reasons that should take away from the quality that we witnessed. But I just felt like there were missed opportunities, and it could have been a lot better with better booking. But I'm not going to let that get me down because it was not the only pay-per-view of the weekend. And now we can move on to Heatwave. It was 100 degrees outside and 100 degrees inside the arena as these individuals battled it out at Heatwave. Was Heatwave in Canada as well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude.
Okay.
And that was the perfect fan base to have an event like that in. Well, Grant, I could say Philly was red hot for them too when they were there. But this was perfect, man. And my God, they deliver.
And speaking of perfect, we're going to start off, maybe not perfect, but pretty damn good. Oba Femi versus Wesley. They made Oba look like $1 million. And I will credit Wesley for that. I've had my issues with Wesley, and just like most of the NXT wrestlers, none of it ever has to do with his in-ring abilities. That's not my issue with almost everybody on NXT. My issue is with everything surrounding that. One thing though, before we actually get to this match, that I forgot to mention about uh, Money in the Bank, I'm going to go back and I'm going to contrast the presentation of that pay-per-view with Heatwave. And what I mean by that, Heatwave was strictly wrestling. There were very few breaks. They had their pre-match, they showed their vignettes, and then they wrestled.
But we got to see a Josh Briggs vignette.
All I'm saying is that there was maybe 10, 15 minutes of not wrestling.
Yeah.
Money in the Bank, you texted me because I lied to you about when the pay-per-view started, and you said I've only missed 2 matches, and I said okay, that's fine. I'm sorry, I've seen these 2 matches. And okay, well, there are no matches between then and now, and it was like
Cena's
40 minutes.
It's good 30 minutes. Yeah,
but that wasn't the only break they had. They were just doing too much. Like they had like 15-minute vignettes about bad blood and things like that. Like, what are we doing here?
I did like that though with Metro Boomin and Cody. I did like that.
But that's not the point. It takes away from a pay-per-view.
No, it doesn't.
Raw and SmackDown are for vignettes and talking. I don't need talking in my PLEs. I just want wrestling. And it felt like there was so much downtime between each match. To me, it took away. Like, if I'm there and I'm wondering why a crowd might not be that into it, it's because they're having to wait 45 minutes in between matches for a match to start.
Don't you have a tour bus?
I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, because it did irk me a little bit.
That's fair.
It did irk me a little bit. But let's go back. Obafemi versus Wesley. When Obafemi threw Wesley up in the air and helicoptered him, that was one of the most impressive feats of strength I've ever seen in my entire life. He literally made him spin like 10 times, and that's a grown man, allegedly. Wesley is. He just tossed him like a child. And I'm sure that Wesley probably pushed off. So a lot of that has to do with him and his abilities. And again, I said you got to have a good dance partner. But man, did they make that man look strong.
Oh
yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I got to admit, I got scared towards the beginning. Wesley slipped on the ropes at one point. He got himself.
No, he slipped in the ropes a couple times.
Okay, but the first one was like, but he's a pro. Got his balance back, and it flowed on. A couple little things, a couple timing issues in this one here and there, but sometimes that's going to happen, especially with a size disparity like that.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, I believe Wes has been doing this a little bit longer than Obafemi has too. So, but they did fine. But when that happened, I was like, oh no, not again with the ropes thing. I was like, I was starting to panic a little bit. I was like, because I knew that Sol Ruca had some issues on the previous NXT event that was televised. I was like, oh man, and normally I would not like the spot of somebody immediately getting up from a frog splash, but it fits with the presentation of Obafemi.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool and I liked it.
Yeah.
And he just manhandled him. It was good, man. It was a good match.
Yeah. And the good news is I'm not going to get Wesley challenging Obafemi anymore. So that was the stipulation. It's weird that they added that stipulation into both the main roster and NXT, because Seth Rollins can not compete for Damian Priest's title as long as Damian Priest has it, and Wesley cannot compete for Obafemi's title as long as Obafemi has it.
And I like the entrances too, like Oba with the graphics popping up. Like it was a lot, they did a lot more with this than they do on NXT, and it's just and both my kids were like Daddy, this isn't where they usually have NXT. This is a lot bigger. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, no, they usually, it's usually a very small place where they do the TV shows. I was like, but yeah, I was like, this is the same place they had the Money in the Bank. But
Yeah.
and dude, the crowd was hot, man.
Yeah, they should be. They should have been. They put on the show. It was a
Yeah,
good match to lead off the
agreed.
show. Um,
Agreed.
so I thought that this is an example of good booking.
Oh, yeah.
Money in the Bank, bad booking.
Did
Heat Wave, good booking.
did it stand to deliver? Was the triple threat with Obafemi? Did that lead the show too in that one?
I don't remember.
Okay, because I was going to say, if that's the case, I mean, it sounds like until they put him in until he wins the main title, I think they've got their go-to for opening the show.
Well, maybe he won't win the main title.
Stop it. Stop.
I'm legitimately in the mindset that he could move up today if they wanted him
Oh,
to.
okay. Yes, but I think they should put that belt on him at some point.
The champion when this pay-per-view started, I don't think he's ready to go to the main roster. I think Obafemi is, and I think they should move him up sooner rather than later.
We will see.
We will see, but what we will also see is what happened next when we got a little bit of women's North American Championship. Start off with the men's North American Championship. Now we get the women's North American Championship. Another match where the result was never going to be in doubt, but it was nonetheless a good match. I believe that Oregon is moving to the Big Ten coming up here shortly.
Yes.
So the one thing I did not understand was when the announcers mentioned the rivalry between these two Big Ten competitors. They were never in the Big Ten together. One went to Oregon, one went to Michigan State, and at no point in time were the two of them in the Big Ten at the same time. So I don't know why they would have said that.
Okay. The one thing, and I don't know because I know that sometimes different sports will compete in different conferences.
I find it hard to believe.
No. I see what you're saying, but I guess I didn't catch that. But
that is true. However, Oregon moving to the Big Ten is already stupid as it is. I just refuse to believe that it was already that way for gymnastics, but maybe it was. I will look that up later. And if he is right and they were in the Big Ten together, then I will just wear the egg on my face. But I find it hard to believe that they were in the same conference.
That's a very good
years.
point that I definitely did not catch because they are about to be in the same conference. So I guess it just went over my head. But and I gotta say, I think out of both shows, this match impressed me by far the most. Yes, from the standpoint of the length of time combined both of these ladies have wrestling, and they put on that great of a match together. Because Sol Ruka, she hasn't been doing it that long, but she lost several months because of an injury.
Mm-hmm.
So that set her back, and but the fact that those two, because a lot of things can be masked in a ladder match with a bunch of people, but they both did well in that. But the fact that they both were on point, I didn't notice any miscues that I saw in this match at all. And they put on a fantastic match. The fans were invested in after being fully invested in the opening match, which that can be hard to do going on second. And so kudos to them. The only thing I was waiting for and I thought was going to happen, I thought they were going to turn Sol Ruka at the end. When she shook her hand and then she didn't immediately leave the ring, I was like, oh, here we go. We got a heel turn coming. And that is the only thing that would have made it better to me, is if that would have happened.
Yeah. One thing I did like about that at the end, one of my biggest issues with celebrating after a match, or even when a baby face will then congratulate their opponent, a lot of times they make it go on too long. Like it takes a little while to raise the person's hand. Soul Rooker did it right away. She pointed at her, raised her hand. It wasn't like waiting
Yeah.
45 seconds to raise the hand like you're doing it reluctantly,
Yeah.
even though you're the baby face. She did it right away, and I really appreciate that because I always find it awkward. Kind of like when AJ Styles fake retired and Cody Rhodes is raising his hand. He waited he held his wrist and was like waiting for like a minute before he went he rose the hand. What are you waiting for? Like just do it. We don't need to wait. We don't need to waste time. I appreciated the little things that went on that match, and that clothesline that Sol Ruka had, where she jumped off the top rope and did like a 360 or a 540 and flip like a two and a half, like a flip and a half, and hit her with the clothesline. Man, was that an impressive move. So much could have gone wrong, and there's so many things she does where I say to myself, man, is the risk worth the reward? So much can go wrong, and you have a very small window for it to go right, but she keeps making it go right, and I hope that continues because she wrestles a style that is not conducive to a long career. She's here for a good time, not a long time. So we'll see. She's going to have to adjust her style eventually because I just don't think she can keep that up. Even if she gets older, her bones and her joints will not allow her to wrestle like that. So we'll see. But for now, great job. Good job, ladies. You did a great job. The women are on fire. If only they could learn how to cut a promo. But I digress. Let's move on to another good match. They were all good matches. Who are we kidding? There were no real duds on this pay-per-view. We got Axiom and Frazier versus Chase U. I do have an issue with a part of this match.
So Rich Holland wasn't there?
How do you break up a pen? What are the official rules of breaking up a pen? Because I'm of the mindset that in order to break up a pen, it's not just hitting someone. The person's shoulders still have to come off the mat, correct?
Oh, stop it. They've been doing that in every that
maybe
you're picking nits here because I feel the same way.
Of course I am.
But they do
of course
that
I am.
every single tag
but
team
it
match.
was very prominent in this match because the only thing I don't even remember who it was, but somebody was getting pinned, and then somebody else just literally walked on top of them, and that is what broke up the pin. But like literally walked, like just stepped on top, and shoulders were still down. I don't know why the ref would have stopped counting. And if you're telling me that any interference causes the ref to stop counting, if that is a rule in the WWE handbook, I can accept that. I don't believe that to be a rule in the WWE handbook, but if that's what you want to tell me, I will suspend disbelief like I've been doing for almost 35 years of being a wrestling fan. I just don't. I was a little confused by that one, but yeah, that's picking nits. That's all that is. That's what I do though. This is a great match. What were your thoughts on it?
No, and I've seen Andre Chase and oh gosh, Duke Hudson wrestle many matches before, but dude, like, Andre Chase was impressive in this match. He held his own and he did good, and Duke Hudson played the power guy to perfection a couple times. Dude, there was one move he did. Aside from the nice nod to Trish Stratus and the corner with is that Stratisfaction? The one in the corner? Yeah, that was a nice nod. And but there were so many cool spots and the false finishes because like we've talked about a ton on this, the camera angles where you can't see him coming in to break up the pin and then it just happens. There were just a lot of cool close false finishes, but yeah, man, just this was really, really good. and I was fully expecting somehow Ridge Holland was going to have involvement in this, but I'm glad there wasn't. It was a good, clean match, and yeah, and because of some of the dissension they've been teasing, and there were a couple in this where Frazier, like I think, did a super kick to Axiom, and then I think accidentally clotheslined him or something too at one
Mm-hmm.
point. And
Yeah.
but there were a couple good destroyer spots in this, and just a bunch of like really, really, really good tag team match spots, and I thought I'd be hard pressed to see another tag match I liked as much as both Axiom and Fraser's matches with the Wolf Dogs. But that's up there, man. That was good.
They're the best tag team in the company.
I can't argue that. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there's no good tag team right now in the main roster.
I like DIY.
I like DIY too, but they don't get booked properly. And yes, I do understand they are currently the champions, but
and
I just feel like the DIY in the main roster is not the same as the DIY
yeah,
from the Black and Gold brand.
yeah, okay. If you're talking about from booking standpoint, because yeah, there's several tag teams I like, but yes, from the way they're booked, yes, I agree. But far and away, it's Axiom and Fraser.
Yeah, they're very talented. And I still have an issue with the way they dress as a group. I think they need to be more tag teamy, but man, are they good when once the bell rings? Oof, they're fun.
Oh yeah,
They're going to put on a good match. I don't think I've ever seen a bad Axiom and Frazier match. So
yeah. No, dude, God, man, that was
good
good.
on them.
That was so
Yeah,
good. Man.
yeah.
And dude, and you know, and you can tell, dude, Chase U is over with that NXT crowd, but just seeing how good they are, just it that that's good tag team wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and I just still don't think that gimmick translates to the main roster, but it would have to be a complete overhaul to keep them as a group. Whereas,
Yeah.
you know, if you pluck um, Thea Hale out of there, and speaking of Thea Hale, you know I love Thea Hale, but I've said just needs to tone it down a little bit, like that full out like that's great in spots in the middle of the match is like pumping yourself up. I get that, but all the greats do it, but well, most of them have that in as part of their character, but my kids were like, she's hyper. I was like, so yeah.
Yeah. She's got a
Yeah.
lot of energy.
Oh yeah. But I mean, dude, she's young, she's talented. It's one thing to pluck her out of the group and send her on her own again, but they're just not going to be able to do that with like Chase and Hudson without doing a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
But they're talented. They're a good tag team.
Oh yeah.
Just I think they could be very beneficial to the main roster, but we'll see. But God, man, this 3 matches in a row. This was great.
3 matches in a row. Couldn't they make it 4? No. NXT Women's Championship match: Roxanne Perez versus Lola Vice. If I had to give a worst match of the night, it would be this match. That's not. It's more of praise for the other 4 matches outside of this one than it is a negative on this one. But I think that there were a number of issues with this particular match, and I want to know your thoughts on it in a second. But Roxanne, I'm a Lola Vice fan. I've been saying for weeks that if she, with the right gimmick, she could flourish. She's not in the same league as Roxanne Perez, in my opinion. Her attention to detail is not nearly the same of that of a Roxanne Perez. The way that Roxanne Perez was targeting her limbs and the reactions that she was getting compared to the way that Lola Vice was uh, 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 compared to the way when Roxanne Perez was hitting her. Lola Vice didn't have the right reactions to what she was doing based off of the move set that Roxanne Perez was using on her. I'll try to flesh that out. She was working her hand. Roxanne Perez was working Lola Vice's hand for the majority of the match.
Yeah,
and
so
there
she
was
couldn't use the back fist properly.
right.
Yeah.
And there was a time where she was hitting it and Lola Vice was properly selling the hand injury. An experienced wrestler, something that Roxanne Perez would have done. Roxanne Perez grabbed her arm and then put it on the ground and then stomped down it. My issue with that sequence, and this is just I pick nits. It's what I do. The four of you know that. She was selling the hand, and then Roxanne Perez grabbed the hand to put it on the ground, and she stopped selling the hand while Lola Vice was violently pulling the hand to the ground. If her hand was as hurt as she was saying, when she's grabbing her hand like this, that should, in and of itself, should hurt. And she should sell that. But she wasn't. And she stopped selling until Roxanne Perez stomped on her hand again. She should have been selling the entire time. There's no reason to stop selling because she is still working your hand. Her grabbing and squeezing your hand to put it on the ground is her still working your hand. Keep selling it. Don't stop selling. That was my issue number one with her. My issue number two is she's still out there dancing. I can't stand that. It's absolutely ridiculous. She has these like little ad libs in between doing moves that just drive me insane. If they don't just make her come out in darker colors and just be a badass here soon, I'm going to lose my mind because they are wasting a golden opportunity for her because she is green, but she is good. Now, Roxanne Perez is great. Lola Perez is good. I think that Roxanne Perez is great. She does
Lola Perez.
Whatever. It's Carmelo Anthony's brother. Lola Vice is good. Roxanne Perez is great, and she's too good for her age. I will say she's too young to be that good.
It's a theme in NXT right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we'll get to it even more at the main event. But there were times where the timing was off inside this match, and again, I'm putting a lot of that on Lola Vice, not necessarily on Roxanne Perez. And Vice will get there because I think she's good. I just don't think 100%. This was her best. I don't think this was her best work.
Here was part of my major thing. They
Pop Rocks.
No, I'm going to get to that. They just a few weeks ago decided, we're going to try to make Lola Vice the face.
Yeah.
After she was clearly the heel against Natty. and then, she, I think, turned on Shayna Baszler, a heel move, even though it was the heel team. So she was still the heel. And then it's like they all of a sudden are like, we're going to make her a face. I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
And
even more weird because they've proved early in the show that you don't need heel versus face. They had face versus face and Sol Ruka versus Kalani Jordan. So
and then in the tag team match.
Yeah.
You just need good wrestling. Good wrestling.
Yeah. So why did they feel the need to turn someone in this match? If you're not going to follow the formula that you would normally follow with two other matches, then why is this the match that you were like, oh, okay, let's turn her to be a babyface?
Yeah. And but yeah, so there was a Pop Rocks that was kicked out of,
and not only was it kicked out, and I don't even know if it really was kicked out of it. It was like her lifeless body kind of rolled out and she couldn't hold it up.
Yeah, and that was okay. So that was the First one. And then the pop rocks on the table that did not break. That was
I was okay with that one.
number 2.
I was okay with her kicking out of that one.
Not when it was right after the other. But I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to show her toughness. She comes from the fighting background. And even though they didn't explicitly say this, she's probably been in some tough predicaments with that background. So the first one, okay, maybe. But then immediately going and getting her and doing it on the table and bringing her back in that soon after the first one. But then I did like the sequence of doing like 3 more in a row. Just okay, putting her
One was
away.
botched.
Yes, but hey, 2 of the 3, yeah, it still works. So I didn't have. I was like, okay, hey, kudos to you. Not because I was like, if they start doing her kicking out of one after the other like they did in the McIntyre Rollins match, I was going to be mad. But they didn't. They had the 2 and then a couple in a row. Finally put her away. I was like, okay. But my biggest issue was the 2 that close together. One of which being on the table. I was like, I don't like that. But
yeah, I think that they had enough time pass in between the move, her being dragged in the ring, and then the pin. Uh,
oh, all
I
right.
mean, that's what they were going
All
for.
right, I'll go. I'll have to watch it again because I remember thinking, man, it hadn't been that long. But okay, I'll definitely take another look and maybe just in the moment I was just like wondering, oh, is this it or what's going to happen?
I was much more angry with the first one than I was with the second one.
And
Mainly because she didn't really like kick out. Like it's have her like emphatically kick out, not like a bear because like her barely kicking out to me makes Roxanne look weak that she couldn't keep her down. It's like, oh, I'm barely moving, but this is gonna be my kick out. You should be able to hold down a woman who's dazed like that, who's barely like it wasn't even like she kicked out. It was like she just couldn't support her weight anymore, trying to hold up the pen, and she just keeled over. But I don't know. I don't know.
it was still a
There
good
were
match.
many less finishers kicked out of this pay per view than in normal NXT or WWE pay per views. So maybe they are
Still,
making a concerted effort to protect people's finishers.
it was still a good match though. I still enjoyed it. I
I still
still
enjoy
did.
it too. Like I
Yeah,
said, when I said it was the worst match of the night, that's more of an indictment on all the other matches being great than it was
yeah,
on this one being poor. Uh,
indeed,
but
indeed.
I do think that this match was clearly the at the bottom because there was no bad match on this card though.
Right.
There was no bad match on this card, and that even includes the main event. Hey, I got one right. Ethan Page
You did.
is your new NXT champion. Trick Williams versus Ethan Page versus Sean Spears versus Javon Evans.
God,
And I
this is
will
good.
say that I'm a child, and my favorite spot of the entire pay per view was was when Ethan Page and Sean Spears were staring at each other like they were going to help each other, and then they both poked each other in the eyes at the same time. I I laughed. I thought that was awesome, and I thought it was much more awesome than it actually was.
Oh, that was great.
But that was great, in my opinion. I don't know whose idea that was, but whoever idea that was, bravo to you. I don't think I've ever seen that spot before, and it was so simple, and it was just right there, and they did it, and it was great. But good match, very good match,
And
great match.
I think Vic Joseph said, "Oh, great sportsmanship displayed by both on that one when they poked each other in the eye."
Yeah, that was good. I want to talk about Javon Evans first because he's 20 years old and he's talented. Uh, he did some stupid things in this match, like when he did like I don't even know what it's called, but he jumped off the rope with his back to the person. I don't know exactly what that move is supposed to do if you actually hit him with it, but he took a chair shot to the back after he did it. I thought that was a good spot, but a stupid move that he was trying to do. But he is a talented person for 20 years old. Good on him. I have my issues with him.
Bouncing.
It's And I'm getting bothered by the fact that Bouncy is being used more and more each one of his matches. This match was no different. But he's like a dark skinned Wesley. Like I don't want. They're just talented in the ring. I can't deny that. But everything else they do kind of pisses me off. But he doesn't piss me off nearly as much as Wesley, despite all the bouncy stuff. He just sounds like a kid. Wesley's a grown man. He shouldn't act the way or talk the way he does. But good match. Everyone played. Everyone. Nobody was carrying anybody. Everyone pulled their own weight. Trick Williams, he lost his title. I want to get into the match, and then after the match, I want to talk about where we go from here with Trick Williams. So, what did you think of the match?
Thought it was great. Did Spears hit a C4 from the top, or was it the middle on somebody? Didn't he?
I thought it was the middle, but it could have been the top.
Okay. No, that would make more sense because, dude, that's just asking for disaster if you do that from the top.
Yeah.
Okay, and yeah, there were some good spots like when wasn't there a spot when when Javon jumped over the ropes and didn't Trick have to slam him, move out, sidestep him, and slam him into the table?
Yeah.
That was a good spot. That was good.
Yeah.
It was. I was genuinely shocked at how it ended, but here's what I don't understand, and I need some clarification on this. Why did Spears stop Trick from breaking up the pin?
Why did Spears stop Trick?
Because the ref.
Yeah. There was a couple things like that. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, you don't need to do that. But I don't know the answer to that question. I can't give you any clarification.
Because they were like, oh, it's like Spears just wanted to see Trick lose, but then so I thought maybe he was going to be like laughing about it, but then they showed him he looked distraught. I was like, unless they're going to try to write it off as, oh, he didn't know the count was happening, he just was trying to beat up Trick some more outside of the ring or something. But
yeah, I don't know.
But
probably just a mistake.
But I like the sequence of the back-to-back Trick knees leading to All Ego falling on top of Evans, and
yeah,
and the look on Page's face when he found out he won was classic heel, and God, he's got a great heel look.
He's good. He's good. He's main roster ready already. Good on him.
And that music is so corny, but I love it. Ego. Oh, dude, I was genuinely surprised. But
yeah.
Asking where I think this goes from here. I read something and I agree. I think first of all, that place lost its mind when Trick came out. that rivaled the reaction in Philly.
Yeah.
That, good grief. Dude, guys like that are better in chase mode. And what better than the detestable Ethan Page for him to get the title back from potentially?
Yeah. So you just think he just goes right back into the title scene?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
But
don't think he fights Obafemi for the North American Championship.
Nah, he'll be right in there in the mix. But they got a bunch of different options here, and my God, dude, those 4 guys are so talented that were in that match, and it's but at some point they're going to have to incorporate more people in that title scene. I definitely, oh, you said it, Obafemi,
Obafemi,
the
Dante Chen,
Don, who?
Dante Chen,
um,
Dante Chen versus Ethan Page in a Singapore cage
but
match.
but here's my biggest issue when it comes to Obafemi. They're going to have to bring somebody in. That's
To
why
beat
I
him.
that's why I think unless he's been on TV recently, because I try to keep up with AEW results here and there. As far as I know, Wardlow is still not on TV. I know he was unhappy and wanting to get out of his contract or was wanting to move on, supposedly. I think somebody like that or somebody from
Well, almost.
yes, I could see that. That's fair. I could see that. So yeah, if it's somebody in house coming back down, yeah, I'd say yeah, I could see that happening. And then that would propel him either to the NXT title scene or to the main roster. But um and then um but they also had the tease at the end with Joe Hendry.
That was weird, but yeah.
That was awesome. but um but yeah, dude, I don't know. But I mean, at some point, though, it's got to go beyond those four. Yes,
Yeah.
there's plenty of matches to have amongst them, but I just, I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see what they do.
They have a lot more women's talent than they do men's talent
Yes,
on NXT. So we'll
in
see how
terms
they
of who I
manage it
think is
all.
ready for the main title. And speaking of which, I was confused. You know, they had the segment with the Dodd as a garden. I don't know if you saw that. And challenging Lexus King. But they just had the segment with Lexus King getting into it with Thorpe. And so I thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah.
And now, granted, hey, I'm
They
all
want you to
for
forget that.
I'm all for those two wrestling. I am. I think it's gonna be a great match. Really think it's gonna be a great match for the NXT Cup. But dude, certainly they've got to put the Don back in one of those title scenes soon. They
I
have to.
think they will. I think he'll get in the main title scene.
Dude, and part of me has to ask, did he do something wrong? He has been on the last two, he has been part of the advertising campaign for the last two events and has not even been there.
I don't think he did anything wrong, only because why was he on the advertising for the event?
But I mean, two events in a row though, that's just weird.
It is weird. It is weird. Maybe he's hurt.
No,
Maybe
because
he's.
he's still fighting. He just had the
Oh yeah. Maybe
he's
he has. I don't know.
I
Doesn't
just
quite
thought
make sense.
yeah, I don't know, or maybe okay, or maybe potentially he's nursing an injury those Heritage Cup matches where you get the break in between, and that kind of style is more conducive to something that may be lingering a little bit, but obviously not preventing him. He's still doing all the power moves and stuff, so.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was weird though. Two events in a row. Not he wasn't as heavily advertised as the battleground event.
Yeah. But still
But
advertised nonetheless
oh
for
yeah,
both.
so I just thought that was odd. But so where do you think the main players from this match go?
So obviously Ethan Page is the champion, so he goes nowhere and stays in the championship scene for now. Sean Spears, I think that he's going to start competing for the North American Championship. In terms of Javon Evans, I think he's just going to remain some sort of floater. I just feel like he just pops up and they just give him a match and then just makes his way into championship matches. I don't know exactly what their plan is for him long term.
What about him beating Oba?
No.
You don't think so?
He weighs 112 pounds. It better not happen. Hey. It better not happen. Even the body type of Wes Lee compared to him is like night and day. He is rail thin. He doesn't have. There's no way he weighs over 150 pounds. I wouldn't believe it. How would he beat Oba? There's not a move in his arsenal that should hurt Oba.
He'll do it by getting bouncy.
But you can only get so bouncy, I know. From experience.
Yeah. That'll be... Yeah, I am very curious to see how they do this because, okay, so is the Great American Bash, because that's their next event, is that their event on SummerSlam weekend?
Yes.
Okay. Dude, they've only got a few weeks to
3,
which
2.
Is why I think it's going to be Paige. I could see 2 rematches. I could see Paige versus
Trick.
Paige versus Trick, and then Spears versus Evans. I could see that.
Yeah, so could I. I mean, Trick's going to say you only beat me because of everybody else in the match, or something along those lines, blaming it being a triple threat for the reason for his loss or fatal 4-way. And then he gets this rematch and then wins his title back at SummerSlam. Or loses and then makes his debut on Raw or SmackDown the next day.
Yeah, because it could essentially be a 1-for-1. It's like Trick won the first one, then he got the title the second time. So now this is the end all be all, or however you say it. So
yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
there's a lot of options.
I'm more interested to see who is going to next challenge Perez, Kalani Jordan, and then Oba Femi.
Jada Parker.
Oh, for Kalani?
Yeah.
They may put the title on Jada. I could see that. She's hot. She's over. Yeah. She is over. But dude, I mean, after
Kalani's still got a ways to go.
I was going to say after that performance, though. But okay, but with that said, with her putting in performances like that, I could see her going and challenging Perez.
Yeah, she could.
So
she could.
But again, dude, there's so many more viable options for the main titles in the women's than the men's at this point. Not that they're not. There's just such an abundance of talent there.
Yeah. But there is an abundance of talent throughout all of NXT. Good on them for putting on a good show. I think they overshadowed the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So good on them. But that just about does it for episode 33 of the Golden Squeeze podcast.
The Larry Bird episode.
The Larry Bird. This is the whitest episode we'll ever have. If you like
as long as I'm here, it won't be.
If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Turn your notifications on, and we will see you in the next episode of the Golden Squeeze podcast.
Oh, he's fighting it.
Oh, yeah.